Hello and welcome back. Thank you so much for returning. Thank you so much if this is your first time tuning in. You tuned in on a perfect conversation. Off the top, we want to say thank you to Live Nation Urban for your continued support. We just keep on reminding y'all that this collaboration has done so much for us as a collective. We've been able to partner and send Black and African women creatives across the country out to things like festivals, tours, and concerts. And I think that's just an incredible feat, and that's really important to us. So we wanted to celebrate Black Music Month by doing something like this with Live Nation Urban. So thank you so much. Also, happy Black Music Month. So yeah, we have a couple more announcements coming at the end of the month, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's get into our very illustrious guest today, Megan Sumpton. Hey. How you doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm feeling good. Thank you. Thank you. Can you please start off with letting the folks know who you are, what you do, and where you're based?
Okay. So again, my name is Megan. On socials and everywhere else, I'm known as MegYuup. I'm a Houston-based photographer, specializing in live music and concerts and also portrait photography. Um, and yeah,
Yeah. So who's your favorite artist that you photograph?
my favorite artist that I photographed. Honestly, I'm just gonna go with somebody recently just because I liked her energy, and that was Lotto. Those
Okay.
the I think that was like the first set of photos in a while that I just was like I felt like really, really good about. So yeah, like she just has like a lot of energy and I think it comes through the photo. So that was a good one.
Incredible. I'm gonna see, is that on your Instagram? Because I'm on your website right now. For those who
Yes.
don't know, we pull up the website for every guest so y'all can see the work while we're talking about it. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the website. But you said it's on your Instagram too?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
it on my website.
Okay, the portfolio is incredible. So, can you talk about how you're able to gain access to some of these shows? I mean, you're at the Beyonce concert, there's Post Malone, Tim's. Like, how can people get into shows like this to be able to photograph artists that they love?
Um, Honestly, I know it's different for everybody, so I don't want to give people blanket advice, but for me, like the Beyonce and Post Malone, of course, that was at Beyonce Bowl. I shoot personally for well, he's a former Texans player now on the Commanders. And so we had access to, of course, be there and shoot sideline and things like that. So I already had my camera there, so I was able to have access to that way. But just like with the other shows, it's honestly just a matter of like kind of like networking and getting your work out there. I did start my route was a little non-traditional. How I started, I had a lot of connects already because of other things that I did. So I was able to translate that over and just start asking in when I wanted like a photo pass or whatnot, I'd be like, hey, can I just shoot this upcoming show? And then most times, like when I'm reaching out, of course, they would say yes. The other way you can get access a lot of times is honestly through the promoters, through managers. I also had success cold DMing. I've DM'd artists, I've DM'd their team, and I've had success that way. So honestly, just getting creative really and just getting your name out there.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because we like to talk about the beginning versus where we are now with every artist. And thinking about how you came from a different realm. You don't have to say like your specific job if you don't want to, but was that like a corporate realm? Were you working for an artist like as an assistant, something like that?
I was actually running a well-known fan page for an artist.
Oh,
And
nice.
so through doing that for a long time, I was able to, of course, network at the different shows and different things. So a lot of people knew me from that. And so when I started photography later on, it was kind of like, oh yeah, sure, like we can vouch for you. We know you, been around and that kind of thing. So that's why I say it was kind of non-traditional because I mean, my first time really shooting music photography, like using like manual on my camera and all that was at an arena tour. So most people don't have that access to do that. So it's like that's what I'm saying. Very non-traditional, but of course I used the access that I had through the page.
I think that's important to note. I mean, some of us are juggling school and photography, work and photography, and some of us are trying to figure out how to transition. Like, this is definitely a passion and a love, and they don't know how to make it a full-time job yet. And I think knowing the ways in which you can reframe transferable skills, I think is incredible because it, for example, for you in this non-traditional route, it gives you access in order for you to actually do your job.
Right.
So can we talk about that first shoot then? What was the tour or the artist and shooting manual first time, this big arena tour? Were you scared? Were you nervous? Were you on the tour with them? Was it one day? Let us know like how that went.
So it was for Drake and the Migos, that tour, well, Arbor and the Three Migos tour. I was teaching at the time and I had just quit. So I was a teacher, I quit. And so, like I said, I had access. So, like, I wasn't on the tour, but I went to like select dates that I wanted to go to. And I had like, you know, like the access to like shoot in the pit and things like that. So, I actually did not bring my camera with the intention of necessarily like starting concert photography. I brought it with the intention of getting content for the fan page. And I have been playing around with manual mode because I wanted to be like a foodie. Like I wanted to take like pictures with me like holding the food and stuff. So that's really why I learned manual. And I had bought a nifty 50 lens. And so I learned how to shoot on that. And so I've been playing around with it already. So then I just brought my camera, my nifty 50 to the tour. I remember, I think it was at a show in New York. I brought it and I shot this one shot and I was just like, oh wait. And because I like kind of looked back at it and I went and had downloaded Lightroom and I was like, let me see like, what I can do. And I like was editing the photo and I was like, oh, this is actually kind of good. I mean, now looking back at it, it kind of sucks, but compared to now, but yeah, it was cool to like capture a moment because I've always been an avid concert goer, so music is like the thing that I really like love and am passionate about as far as like, you know, and so it was cool to kind of be able to merge the two. So I went to like mad dates on that tour, like a lot, and I just kept practicing and like getting better. And then it was crazy because I mean, even on that tour, like that's the tour that Meek came out and they kind of like, made up or whatnot. And I had posted, of course, I was getting content still, like video and stuff on my phone, but I had posted some pictures and they had got like picked up and people were posting them. And I had caught like Meek Mill backstage with like Robert Kraft. Like I just, yeah, and like people were picking them up and reposting them. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So yeah, first time really shooting like that was at an arena tour. So
That's incredible. I mean, I love how it can happen so many different ways. Since we're talking about some of the gear, can you put us on to what your kits look like? Maybe since I know you've done a tour before, can you tell us if it's different, your like standard kit if you're just going to a one-off show versus a kit when you're building for a tour?
um so a little bit. It kind of depends on where the show is. So like of course like a smaller venue, um sometimes it's you can use like, a prime lens and be okay. But for like the bigger tours, like I like to use or even festivals because I do a lot of those. I like to use a 70 to 200 and then a 24 to 70 lens. I shoot Canon. I have a 5D Mark IV and a 6D Mark II. I'm actually about to upgrade because I want to do mirrorless, but that's just what I have right now. And primarily I've started mainly noticing that at festivals and stuff, I'm mainly using the 24 to 70 to just shoot crowd and people and up close portraits. But even sometimes I actually prefer the 70 to 200 even for portraits, even if I have to stand further back. But I've noticed that I use it more at the shows because it's just like arena tour, like you're so far, like you can be go stand up in the 200s, or you can be wherever, and then you can get still kind of zoom in with it.
Yeah.
I don't normally use prime lenses at those shows. I would say those are the main ones I stick with, honestly. But of course, if you like want wider shots, I have like to get stage design and stuff, stuck with the 24 to 70. But yeah, I would say those are the main two lenses, and those are the cameras I currently use.
Okay, beautiful. So you try to pack the same for both one-offs and tours.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just easier that way. And then I like to have two, like I said, the two camera bodies, because switching a lens back and forth can be a little hectic,
Yeah.
especially I know at like a one-off show, they can still be strict. Even at festivals, they can be strict, even if you're on an in-house team. Like they can say like first three songs. And so you don't have time to be switching lenses out with three songs. Like you gotta kind of like be ready. So
That's true. Let's get into touring. I've been wanting to talk about touring a lot more, so I'm so happy that you have some experience with it. How can people get on to tours? Should they be building relationships with the artist, the management, someone else? What are your tips for that?
build relationships with everybody, I'd say.
Mhm.
I've noticed that with tours though, it's most people get picked for tours by word of mouth. It's like somebody might have like I saw somebody actually talk about this recently in Instagram comments. Like when people are trying to get on a tour, it's usually like somebody was doing it and then maybe they can't do it, so then they refer their friend that's really good, you know what I'm saying? So it's like just building relationships and making it known. Also you can build relationships with artists if you start off with an artist when they're not as big. Sometimes that I've seen that work for people. Like they start off with the artist gets big, the artist keeps them on. Or I've seen where someone shoots an artist at a or not a smaller show, one of their one-off shows. They post the photos, tag the artist sees, artists in the team like them. Okay, we're gonna actually be heading out on tour. Can you go? I've seen that. That's kind of what happened with me. I cold DM'd and then got asked to do the show, a one-off show. They said they liked my work after I did the show, and then they said, we're gonna be doing this string of shows. We want you to for tour. Can you come to these? I was like, oh sure.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. That's fun.
Yeah.
So, how do you maintain some creativity while you're shooting the same set every night?
Um, I would say just kind of like moving around a lot. I don't know, trying different angles. Um, the crowds are different, so like, showing like a lot of crowd engagement.
Do
Honestly, I
you,
think even though the shows might be the same set list and whatnot, like the energy is often different. And then, you can just focus maybe more on one thing one night and then more on something the other night. I don't know. It's kind of just like I kind of go with the flow, honestly, and just kind of try to just capture that night's energy and just go off of that.
yeah. Do you also do lifestyle work when you're on tour with someone? So, like the
I
behind
have
the
like,
scenes?
oh yeah, like they'll ask sometimes like to take like behind the scenes or like backstage photos, or just, a bit of like flash photography more backstage. So I've done that. But yeah,
Nice. Oh, yeah. Speaking of flash, do you ever bring that external out while you're shooting the show or no?
I have before. I've done it at like a festival. I mean, a lot of people don't really like it because I mean, the light is really bright, so you
Yeah.
can like, I guess risk blinding the artist. But I mean, some artists like it, and that's some photographers like style is to do that, like to use the flash on stage. It's not really my style.
Mhm.
I really like working with the natural light, like of course, like the lights, but like working with that versus like flash, and then saving the flash for like backstage and crowd.
Okay, cool. What kind of flash do you use that like you super rely on, really love?
I actually just changed it. I was using a Canon I can't even think of the name. It was a Canon one, but I just switched to a Godox.
Okay,
Um,
the Godox V1.
huh?
Godox V1.
Yeah, it's has like, the chargeable battery and it's faster. Like I just tested it out for the first time this past week and I was like, I don't know why I was trying to use a flash with batteries with what I do, like especially shooting an event, like it's not it's not working. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
the flash starts slowing down and like the recycle time is lower. And I don't have time a lot of times to like wait for it to recycle slow when I'm trying to like,
Move around.
especially if you're shooting artists, and you know how they move fast. They're like, okay, like hurry up. Not saying hurry up, but they're trying to move fast. So,
That high speed sync definitely gets the job done. A couple people have shouted out that one. That's also the one I use. I think it's a really cool tool.
oh, for sure.
Okay, let's get into the editing because I noticed in some of your work, I mean, the color grading looks beautiful, but some of it you do use a few effects, so I'm going to have to pull it back up. So I'm curious, so for our sparkles like this, are you using like the prism, like physical effects, or do you do this in Photoshop or another program? Like, what's your editing style like?
I use a star lens filter for those. Um,
Okay.
I don't really have them on there, but I started using motion blur like years ago, but I didn't do it as much. And I started using it again recently, and I do that in camera. I just do camera shake, like pan from left to right really fast.
Mhm.
I don't use I have a filter for it, but I rather I notice the results are better when I do it manually.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't really do add any effects as far as like star lens or motion blur in Photoshop or anything. It's all in camera.
Okay, copy. And then with other effects or like motion blur, there was another one I saw at the top where you did the effect where the swirl is around. Is that also your physical effect or are you editing that?
That's a physical effect. It's a filter.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, tight, tight,
filter.
tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't find it, but you know which one I'm talking about. Y'all
Yeah,
saw it.
the Tim's one. Yeah.
Oh, here go another one. Here, I'll pull it back up. Something like this.
Yeah,
So
that's
can you
on.
talk about the settings so people know how to achieve something like this and can play with that creatively?
Oh, for that one, you just that is literally just the filter. So you would shoot as normal, like whatever based off the lighting, and then you just have that filter attached. For a
Copy.
motion blur, um, I have more recent examples of that on my Instagram, but I usually put about 1/8 shutter speed, f9, and then depending on the lighting, start at of course 100 ISO and just adjust it from there. And I literally just pan left to right.
Nice. Perfect. Okay, cool. So can we talk a little bit more about the editing? Are you only using Adobe? Are you using Capture One? What's your workflow like? Are you dumping your files at the festival when you get home? How's that workflow?
So I'm loyal to Adobe. I mean, I only use really Lightroom Classic now. I My workflow is kind of, yeah, I need to clean it up, but it depends on what festival I'm at. Like a lot of them, it depends on like if you're on the in-house content team, if like what your goals are. Like sometimes you want to get stuff up faster, you can dump in real time. So, or the team might say, "Hey, can we get a few photos of this artist, whatever?" So you'll go and pull a few. I wouldn't recommend editing the way I do. I literally go one by one. Like I'll import and then I'll just literally go one by one and delete. It's very time consuming as
You
someone who overshoots. So,
delete your photos?
huh?
You delete them?
Oh no, but I save them. Like,
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
oh, excuse me, not delete, remove from like,
Dang.
no. Sorry, please save your photos. I have a external hard drive and I save by event, and day, and month. So really granular, but I in Lightroom, I import all of them from whatever it is, and then I'll just like go literally one by one. I know a lot of people like they'll do the rating system and kind of go from there. I just I don't know. I really
Yeah.
need to clean up how I do it, but I mean it works right now, but it can get a little bit overwhelming when you have 1,000 something photos to look through. But sometimes it can move kind of fast, like because you can be like, okay, no, 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 no.
Know what
Yes,
you're looking for. Yeah.
yeah. So but yeah, I do
Speaking
all
of
that.
Adobe, didn't you create some Lightroom presets for them?
Yeah, a couple years ago I did a set of concert presets. Actually, shout out to Black women photographers. They were able to give me that opportunity, which I'm really still grateful for. So if you look in Adobe Lightroom, under like the user presets, mine are under the concert section.
Look
I
at
was able to create those for them.
what's the name? Is it just your name?
No, it just literally says I think it just says concerts and then it's like what, 12 presets, I think.
Mhm. Okay, so all of those are the ones you made?
Yes.
Let's go, Megan. So go ahead. You could use Megan presets right now if you have Lightroom, and you should. Okay, beautiful. Can we talk a little bit about the gear that is keeping you moving throughout the day? So, for example, stuff like backpacks, belts, harnesses. Do you use earplugs? Like, what kind of things do you use to keep yourself prepared throughout the day?
So again, I probably should get a harness, but I don't have one. I mean, I have one actually. I have like a sling, but I don't use it. I really just wear my both cameras on my shoulders, which again, I would not advise because it can get if you're walking at a festival doing what 20K steps and then all that can get a little bit heavy. But for right now, I just have one camera on each arm, and then I'll have like a little bag or something, and I'll put like lens filters, like a lens cloth, um, maybe my like film camera and just stuff like that, just in there as I'm walking from stage to stage and don't have time to go backstage.
Yeah.
Um, Sometimes I wear like cargo pants, like army pants or like cargo pants with pockets and put stuff in those. Um, I was recently at a festival, it rained. I had looked ahead and I got the little bag that you put around your camera so that it doesn't get wet. Advise that. I bought a poncho, advise doing that just to have in case it does rain. So you don't get wet.
A little bit about that rain utility. I know people use them. I'm still afraid to use it. I don't know. I just don't trust it. Do you have a specific brand that you trust, or is it literally like whichever one you can get, do your thing?
I just got some off of Amazon. It was like a pack of them. And I mean it works. It keeps the rain off. So I mean, it is a little nerve-wracking though because you don't want to ruin your equipment. So hopefully you don't have to shoot in the rain, but if you do, it does work. It could just get a little kind of crazy because you have to put it around the camera and so it's hard to look through the viewfinder, so you might have to look on the actual screen instead and shoot that way. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Nobody has brought up rain during our summit this weekend yet, so I think that's such a good note for people. Also, in case they just never even heard of that or seen that.
Or
So,
shoes too.
yeah.
Looking ahead, I guess, is the best thing to like look ahead on for the weather. Even looking at the weather for when it gets cold at night sometimes it could be hot and then all of a sudden you're somewhere and it's freezing. I've had to buy hoodies on the spot because I'm like, there's no way. So I recommend just bringing like a hoodie. It's not gonna hurt to just bring a hoodie you could wrap around your waist. You could tie it around your bag or whatever it is. Just to not be freezing while you're trying to shoot. And shoes that you don't care about. I mean, I've seen people wear shoes. I would wear shoes you don't really care about in case something, you never know. And all that walking in dust and all that stuff, like shoes
You
that
will
are
get
easily
dirty.
washable.
Right. You will get dirty. You will get muddy if it rains. That's such
Yes.
a point.
So
I have a friend who always wears the cargos that are unzippable so they can turn into shorts or pants. And I think
oh,
that in the same line, like that's probably a good idea, especially if you not really going back to that tent or something like that.
Yeah,
That's how you move through the day.
for sure. Oh, you mentioned earplugs. I highly recommend earplugs. I just lost one of mine at a festival. I started using Eargasm earplugs. You can get them off Amazon. They're a really good brand. I know about them because um I also work as a social media manager, and one of the brands I was working for, we did a collab with them, and they use them a lot in like the rave scene at the
Mm,
raves and stuff. But they're really good. Like block out, I can't hear you. Like
yeah. Okay, cool. Perfect.
yeah.
So for something like that, thinking about how you also work in social media, do you ever try to leverage those skills when you're pitching yourself, if you do pitch yourself to like festivals, new media teams, new clients? Like, hey, I have these photos and I know how to do something with them, or are you just like, as a photographer, this is my job?
Honestly, I've kept it kind of separate. Um, it's worked where like at my previous job, I shot a lot like we that at that job we sponsored a lot of festivals, so I was able to kind of do both. Like it was helpful because I was able to say this is what we're looking for when we're looking for photos, like when we're sponsoring the festivals, like from those teams. And then I would also go to festivals and get our content too.
Nice.
I haven't really probably leveraged it like how I could. Um, it's probably because I'm sometimes I'm like super busy and it gets overwhelming. So I
Yeah.
pitch myself a lot. But actually that is on my actual agenda to do is like reach out to some brands and let them know I have like both skill sets. Like I can shoot, but I know how to position things or like how to create content and do all that kind of stuff and how to leverage it on social. So that is part of my plan to help market myself and get bigger and greater opportunities.
Perfect. So speaking of opportunities, can you talk a little bit about how folks can get paid in this live music space? Would that be, pitching themselves to the festivals, the publications? Would that be trying to find an artist and stick with them the whole time? Like, what do you think is a good avenue?
Um, all of it. I haven't done, I think the one that I haven't done a lot is the press side. So I'm not really clear on how that works. I think I tried early on. I haven't tried recently. Um, but I would guess the best way is honestly, I mean, it honestly depends on what you're trying to do. If you want to shoot a whole festival, it's harder to go through an artist because when you're issued a pass through an artist, usually they cap you at shooting that artist only, depending on the festival. So if you want to stick with the artist, sometimes it is more money, I'm not gonna lie, like to shoot that one artist. Like you might could shoot a whole festival and get the same amount as if you only shot that one artist. That makes sense. So it really just depends on your goal. I know a lot of people's goal with music photography is to be on an in-house content team. Um, that could be cool, but you also have to be very, I think, flexible with that because some of the agencies, like you got to be there at like 8 o'clock in the morning, like you're not leaving till way late and you have to dump all your photos and you might have to, I think some of them, they have retouchers, but some of them you might have to edit and get some selects over to them like that night before y'all all can go home, that kind of thing. So you kind of got to be ready for that. I know press can be a little bit, seems like a little bit more chill, like, you just shoot, get your photos and hand it over to the editor. That's a little bit chiller. Um, yeah, so it's like depending on what you kind of want to do or what connects you already have. But I would always suggest people, my thing is I always say like, I mean, the worst you can get told is no. So I mean, if you don't reach out, it's already a no because you didn't reach out, right? So I would just try every avenue if it's something like you're really looking to get into, is like try and then also following up. I know sometimes from your point of view, it could seem like, oh, I'm harassing this person. Honestly, I'm one of those people like harass me because I forget, to be honest. I'm like, you sent me one email and I might have saw it and didn't,
Like reply in the moment.
yeah, because I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back to this. And then I got, overwhelmed with 50 other things I have to do from work and then maybe photography. So um I've definitely harassed my way into some stuff. Like, hey, did you don't know if you saw this? Oh, just following up. I don't know. So that's just what I've done. So I would, of course, don't overdo it, but I'm just saying, like, following up is honestly key. I think it shows like interest,
Mm,
and that, of course, when you're doing this or like sending things over, making sure you send a link to your work, making sure you have a website, honestly, making sure you have Instagram. I hate to say that, but I feel like a lot of people do go to Instagram first versus a website. But you do need a website because I've had brands that are like, they wanted to hire me for something and they're like, oh, we want to see examples exactly of this. I'm like, oh, I can just point them to my website link and I have a whole page of all that. And they're like, oh, perfect, good. So
right.
you can't really see that on an Instagram. So I would recommend everybody have a website as well.
Definitely. And just a reminder to everybody, if you already have a subscription to Adobe products at all, you have a website that comes with that subscription. So you could just build your website out on that because you know you're not giving up that Lightroom. Okay. So back to pitching a little bit. Can you talk a little bit about how you structure your portfolio when you are pitching? For example, like do you create a one-sheeter with a couple images? Are you only adding your link to the email? Like what types of things do you think are create a good pitch?
Um, So I've had success in kind of a couple of ways. One way I've done it is just literally like a email and then a link to my portfolio. Um, I know sometimes people say it's best to also add a couple of images that they can just see. So I've done that as well, like add images. So maybe if they don't have time, they can just, a lot of people on their phone, they're scrolling the email, they say, oh, these, okay, some eye-catching images that they can make them want to click on your portfolio. So I've done that. I haven't really done a one sheet, but I've done pitch decks and I've just all throughout the deck included images of my work as well. I've had I've had good success with decks. And I've had good success with just like emailing as well with a couple of images in the link. So again, I guess it just depends on like the project and what you're trying to do. Like if you're just trying to shoot a show, of course the email's fine. Maybe for bigger projects, a deck so they can see like specialized work and what you can bring to the table and kind of you can go into your experience more versus a portfolio is just the work there. But then I guess on a deck you can kind of say, this is more of what I've done. That's more specialized.
That's really great advice, I think. What I also just thought about is how worried people are about scams. And so maybe links aren't always the best option, especially now with like new tech that is being created. People are like, new scams are happening. Like, I ain't opening no foreign links. So
Yeah.
that I just feel like dropping a couple images, or excuse me, not dropping, but attaching a couple images in the email or having that deck ready is probably a better idea.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Okay. And then thinking about pitching yourself as a touring photographer, do you have experience doing that, or did you get that opportunity just, or those opportunities a different way?
I got um the one tour. It was like a short like stint, but like I said, I I cold DM'd and someone on their team, and they referred me to the right person. They sent over my stuff to the right person, and that person DM'd me. And then that led to a paid opportunity for the one show. Um, and then once I turned those photos in from that show, they kind of were like, "Hey, we never done this before, but we'd like to have you like come on tour with us for this string of shows." So I kind of just did that. Um,
Can we talk about what you said in that first message? Like, what are things people should be saying when they are trying to pitch themselves for an opportunity like that?
I think I just said something along the lines of um hi, my name is Megan. I'm a photographer here based here in Houston. I see you have they have an upcoming show here in Houston. I would love the opportunity to shoot it." And then I linked my portfolio so they can, I was like, here's some examples of my work. And then I linked my portfolio. Of course, they can go look at my Instagram as well, but I just linked it in there just in case they wanted more like examples. And then I thought I was just gonna sit in the request folder, and they opened it,
Yeah.
referred me. She didn't, I don't even think she replied. I think she just literally sent it over to the right person and was just like,
And they came back around like,
yeah,
okay, we love you. Come on.
yeah.
Okay, good. I love that. I think it's so important for people to find language. So I really appreciate you breaking it down like that. Because some people have the idea, but like, yo, what should I say? I don't know.
And I don't want to be one of those people, but also like, I mean, you can at this point chat GPT something to help with wording. I'm not saying like tell them to do the whole thing, but like if you struggle with wording, you can just ask, like, put your initial thought of what you want to get across and then have them like kind of restructure it for you if that's something that you struggle with.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I think generally that's the way I use AI is I tend to write the thing first and then have ChatGPT act as an editor. So I think
Yeah,
that's super great advice too, just to make sure everything sounds professional and you're being concise and clear in what your ask is.
right.
That's beautiful. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the challenges. How long have you been doing this?
I think this year would be 6 years.
Okay, congratulations. We love that. Happy anniversary. But I'm thinking about just your portfolio is so vast. So I was naturally going to be like, you've been doing this for a minute. Can you talk about how you try to like make yourself stand out? This is a saturated place, but clearly your work stands out. It speaks for itself. Is that something you try to do in how you're moving throughout the session? Is that something you focus on when you're editing and your editing is your unique style? What's going on in your mind about that?
I say probably it's a mixture of both for me. I tend to get, I don't know, I tend to get the best shots in my opinion when I just am having fun with it, and not so in my head. Because sometimes you can get really in your head about it and then like almost like look back at the photos and be like, you could tell I wasn't like connected here. Like I just was like shooting something. So that's why I was using Roots Picnic as an example because I just did that one. That was like probably the first festival in a minute where I felt like, okay, I was really like focused and like I was having fun doing it. And I went with like a goal of like, I want to make sure I'm capturing these sets and I want to do it in this way. And I want it to come across a certain way. And it just like felt good. So there's been times when I've shot and I'm just like, all right, I was just clearly not there. Um, But yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. Also, like with editing, I don't know, I guess it would be up to the viewer. I don't know if people can necessarily tell my style from my editing. That's actually a question I would actually want to ask people if like, have you ever seen I have had people send stuff to me and they thought it was me because of like the way that I do stuff and they're like, that looks like something that you did or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I can see that. But yeah, I would say it's like probably a mixture of both.
Nice. Also, thinking about how potentially you're shooting artists that you don't really enjoy necessarily. How do you navigate that? Like, of course, there are times where, like you said, like you're gonna be kind of out of it, like that happens. But when you are shooting someone you don't necessarily enjoy or their music doesn't call you, what are things you do or can do to still try to produce the best work?
Um, so I just love music in general. So it's like even if I'm not an avid listener of somebody, I just feel like the whole experience, um, you can get energy from the crowd because usually if maybe I'm not into it, but somebody from the crowd or people in the crowd are. So it's like you could feed off of that. And honestly, I just seek to just like capture people in their best light and their best, looking their best and So it's just like more not necessarily about having to be connected to every artist and like listen to them, but just like, you know, capturing the moment and the energy kind of thing.
Mhm. I'm also wondering how you handle rejection. For example, you mentioned how you reached out to somebody on that team and they probably didn't even reply to you. Was that a moment where you're like, maybe you wouldn't have reached out again if somebody said something? Like, how do you manage the moments where people are literally like, no, or just non-responsive?
Um, I keep trying. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I mean, no one likes rejection. I'd be lying if I sat here and be like, oh, I love to get rejected. But I think you kind of have to like, um, not take it so personal because a lot of times like rejection, it's not even like real rejection in a lot of cases. Like if they don't see it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they didn't really see it. And I've had things like come back around where it's like, oh, I didn't even know you had, whatever DM, and then you end up working with them anyway. But it's just like, I think you have to just like keep trying. Um, I DM'd the artist the other day. She didn't even open it. I was just like, whatever. I
Yeah.
feel like taking it personally or whatnot. Like I'm probably sitting in her message request. It's
Yeah.
fine. Sometimes you post photos, you might tag artists, they don't might not acknowledge them. That could feel like rejection.
Mhm.
Sometimes I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say it's always great. I mean, not gonna lie, I did work with an artist recently and I shot their show and I sent over the photos and they kind of didn't really acknowledge them. Uh,
Mm,
they're like, thank you, but then they kind of didn't, they posted it, but like, I guess it was just like the way it was done. I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, cool. But I guess you kind of like, again, can't take it personally. And I didn't. I just was like, if I'm proud of something, like there's nothing anybody honestly can tell me. That's kind of where I am now. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of stuff used to get to me more, but I think now I kind of just get in the mind frame of like if whether I get one like, 1,000 likes, I'm posting it anyway because I like it. So now I don't feel as pressured because I used to feel pressure to always post and I burned out. And then now I don't post. I only post when I feel confident in the photos. And again, I can get zero comments. I can get 10, 100. If I like it, I'm posting it. I'm going to feel good about it because I notice people are fickle anyway. Like
yeah.
it's like sometimes you can feel like that when you're doing a lot of work with music and artists and celebrities because what people are gonna automatically like a picture of a celebrity. Um, in most cases, especially like a A-lister, right? So it's
Yeah.
like you might post work of a smaller artist that they don't know about and it might be a better set of photos, and you might get 5 likes, and then it's just like I don't think you should feel bad about it if you're like proud of it. And then you never know, honestly, what something could turn into. Um, I tell people all the time, like I say it all the time on Twitter, is like post your work. I know everyone says that, but the reason I say it is because I'm on both sides. I hire photographers
Mhm.
for jobs that I have or where I work. And so it's like I never go to somebody's portfolio or Instagram or whatever and say, let me go see how many likes they got on this. I'm just looking for quality and consistency. So if I can go to your Instagram and you got this work and this is what I'm looking for, you're hired. I don't really care about likes and stuff. So in the same breath, I have to use that advice for myself. When other people are hiring, could they be having the same attitude as me? It's like I'm not looking for, and I noticed they have. And then even when I've been scared to like first for maybe put a certain type of photo first in a carousel, like because I'm like maybe it's not as scroll stopping as something else. It's been interesting that I've gotten reception or reached out to about specific photos that I wasn't even gonna put first or was kind of
Mhm.
like hesitant about. So it's like you kind of have to like be confident in what you're posting and kind of like listen to yourself versus posting what you think other people are gonna like because people are fickle. So I wouldn't even go based off of what anybody else is saying. I would really rely on yourself.
Yeah, I really appreciate that approach. I think it can be tough because just like the artists we're photographing, like how they might say this is their baby, this is their art, this is our art, and feeling rejection towards our art can sting or just make you salty. But I think your framework is a smart one where it's like, yeah, but you can't take it personally. Like you can feel a little salty, like if they
Oh, for
didn't
sure.
like it,
I
if they
felt
didn't
salty.
post it, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't change the value of your work, which is what I'm hearing from you. And I think that's just good to always remember as you're moving through these shows.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm also seeing, I saw for the Roots Picnic, you specifically shot for Live Nation Urban. Shout out
Yeah.
to the partnership. People, so many of us want those types of jobs. And I know we talked a little bit about pitching. I'm curious, how how can folks get paid for publications and companies like that specifically? Like who do they need to know? Is it the photo editor? Is it the producer? You know, like who do they need to be reaching out to on LinkedIn or DMs? Like, can you give us a couple titles?
Uh, Again, a little bit non-traditional. I don't know specifically. I know marketing is a good, like people in the marketing department is a good start because they're usually the ones posting and like marketing the different shows. Again, I got um my opportunity a little bit differently. I pretty much shot for, oh, it was through Black women photographers. They were doing a thing where it's like if you wanted to shoot Ari Lennox when she comes to your city, just kind of apply or whatever. So I applied and then I end up getting it for Houston. And then they put me on like an email thread. And then I was like, oh, here are the photos. Didn't really hear anything, but they had an upcoming festival that I noticed they Live Nation Urban was producing, and so I used those same emails and kind of was like, hey, hey, hey.
Right, there you
Like
go.
I emailed once and I didn't hear anything back, and I was just like, oh snap. I followed up, didn't hear anything back until like a little bit before, and then they were like, oh, like if you're still available, whatever. So then I did that. And honestly, kind of from that opportunity, like built a relationship with some of them, honestly, with Jasmine. She's the next speaker, honestly. So I built a relationship with her and then ever since then she kind of like, utilizes me a lot. So shout out to
Come on,
her.
ecosystem. See, this is what we be talking about. I love that this opportunity essentially stemmed from a Black woman photographer's call out. Like, that's what we be talking about when we're announcing different opportunities, different surprises. Like, you never know what can come from things. And I know I keep asking about pitching. I think one, it's a valuable skill. It's definitely important to do your best in putting yourself out there. But what often happens is things fall into place like dominoes. It's like you get that one opportunity or those two opportunities, and next thing you know, you've been shooting on a tour with a consistent artist for a year, 2 years. And so I just love that you can provide both some traditional and non-traditional context.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful. Can we get into maybe your biggest learning moment from working in this music industry?
Um, I would say is to get clear on what like your goals are with it because honestly, I know we're in a time where everybody wants to be, I'm not trying to discourage anybody. I know everybody wants to be like a lot of people want to be like full-time photographers, especially in like music and things like that. And I wouldn't dare discourage anybody or tell anybody to stop, but I would just tell people to be smart about it. I don't do music photography or photography in general full time. And that is the decision I made just because for me, I like a consistent paycheck.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's funner for me when I can do my job that's separate from photography. And then photography is still fun and a hobby, but it's a hobby that I get paid from. So I do serious. gigs and get opportunities as well. But there's like more of a balance. So it's not something that I'm solely relying on because I can attest that I've seen and I know of people that it can be very unstable,
Mhm.
especially when you're waiting on a bunch of net 30s and
Yeah.
things like that. And then, you're needing rent money and, they're delaying payment and now you're, in a rut. And I've seen an increase of photographers that work with celebrities. And you would think, that maybe they wouldn't go through some of the same issues, but they are. They're having some of the same issues, and some of them are looking for more full-time steady work. So again, I would never encourage yeah, try to discourage anybody from pursuing it full time. I would just say be smart about it and make sure that you do have maybe something to fall back on. Um, I think that's the smarter option to me because sometimes putting all your eggs in one basket can leave you, you know, left out. And things fall between the cracks and then you could just be put in a really bad position. And I'm saying that with the state of the economy. And I know there's always this big push for people who will be like, oh, quit your job. And influencers being like, I'm going to do TikTok full time and this and that. Again, never discouraging anybody. I've seen the numbers. I hire influencers. The numbers are crazy. They get a lot
Yeah.
of money. But what is your plan? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's always important to have some sort of plan because you just literally do not want to be stuck out and this is all you have. And now you're pretty much like for real a starving artist because they're not paying on time and you don't have anything else. So even if you do photography full time and whatnot, maybe pursuing other avenues of like work, whether it is like shooting for local companies or doing more business things with it. I don't know, like with the stock photography or selling presets or I don't know, different things like trying different things, being a YouTuber, doing tutorials or using your platform to like leverage, I guess, more is what I'm pretty much trying to say. Like having a plan, like a full plan versus just like, I'm going to quit my job and be a photographer full time because I got one good gig. And then
Mhm.
you get one good gig and then there's nothing to follow it up. And again, not discouraging anybody, just saying like what's been the reality for me. People will say it's oversaturated. Uh, I don't know if I agree or disagree, but I wouldn't let that stop me because I mean everybody's eye is different. So, um, but just being smart about it is probably the best advice I can give. And again, I'm not telling anybody to do it like me. I'm just saying probably think about all the options. Think about the kind of lifestyle you want to live and things like that. And just look around, kind of see who's in position and like what are they saying? Because that's kind of what I did to kind of gauge. I will say this, I did get pushed in the last year. I lost my job last June of 2024. I was unemployed for 8 months. Again, photography kept me afloat. Um,
Yeah.
I was able to not struggle or anything because outside of music photography, like I said, I do personal photography for an NFL player, so I was on retainer. So
Nice.
that really helped me stay afloat. And also I was getting booked for other photography stuff. So without it, I would have been in a bad position. But I'm saying like I can't imagine that being solely it for me. I'm also a person who likes to do a lot of things. So
That's good. It's like really know yourself and what you can commit to. Can you talk a little bit about balancing a 9 to 5 and specifically this kind of work? And I think it's important to talk about because going to a festival is like a whole day commitment and can be a lot on your body and your mental load. And if you got to be back at work the next day, like how do you manage that? Are there things you do to try to keep yourself sane?
um again, I work from home. I work remotely, so it works out for me that I can literally be at the festival. And again, I work in social too, so I can whip out my phone and I need to get a post up. It's nothing. Um, for me though, I don't like to come back home and have so many photos set it. So each night of the festival, I try. It doesn't always happen. I'll try to like edit that night, even if I have to stay up really late. I'll drink a Red Bull and just because I really don't like going home Monday when I'm probably gonna have a travel day and it's already tiring and having to come home from that and you've been walking 20K steps a day and you're tired and then having to up to look through thousands of photos. That's just not fun.
Yeah,
Um,
it's not.
so I try my best to, while I'm there, get as much of it done as I can. That way, when I come home, if I do have to edit, it's a little less. Uh,
Yeah.
But it also depends on, again, your role and what you're doing at the festival. As far as if you're on an in-house team, you're doing press, can be a little less demanding with certain things, like the turnaround time can be a little less. So, yeah, that's personally what I do is trying to get it done faster.
Okay. And I know we're coming up to the end almost, but you mentioned that you shoot film sometimes too. Can you talk about maybe your kit when you are shooting film, if it's just novelty, if people specifically come to you for film sometimes, and how you like to shoot on film for shows?
I really don't shoot film. Like I have a Canon A1 film camera. That's I know it's best for portraits. I don't like to take it to festivals as much because if I was to use it, it would be I would like to do that for backstage like portraits and stuff, which can be a little hard logistic wise because it's like if I have to run to this set, I don't have time to wait for this artist to get off stage. Like so it's like it would probably have to be something that like I'm doing very specifically. I also have a Canon short shot, I think it is,
Mhm.
35 millimeter. I use that one more for like backstage moments, like especially when it's night because it has a flash.
Mhm.
But it's more like just for I would say more for me, if that makes sense. I like film. I just like the look and film, the look and feel of it. So I shoot film more for me. I don't necessarily I've gotten asked like on shoots that are non-music related to do film, but I haven't had really people be like, "Oh, can you know, shoot film for us?" Because I actually don't even really post a lot of my film work to be honest. Because like I said, it's like so sporadic. So I'll have one film camera and it has what 36 shots. I'm not using 36 shots at a festival because I'm focused on digital so much that it's like I don't even have time to like do that. So it could span two festivals where before I'm even getting the film developed. So it's like
Yeah,
an after thing. It's like, oh, if I want to come later and kind of like post um those photos or something.
that's true. I guess to close this out, I could do this Q&A. We have somebody in the chat that says, are you developing your own film or having it developed elsewhere?
I go get it developed at a film lab.
Okay, nice. Actually, I'd love to close out with like something big and happy. Can you talk about the last shoot or image that really had you on a high? You were feeling good about it. Maybe it changed your life. Maybe it just changed your mood. What's one of your images that make you really happy?
Um, Personally, probably I think it's on my Instagram. The probably the Jeezy photos or that first Jeezy photo. I don't know. I just really liked it. I was of course playing with motion blur and his lighting. I really loved his lighting at that show. I just yeah, I think that just looking at it makes me in a good mood. But also, honestly, probably the Lotto ones. If I'm being serious, I know I mentioned those earlier, but it's just like to me, like she has fun on stage, and you can kind of see that in like the images.
Mhm.
So I would probably say Lotto. Oh, and then I don't know, I really like the Glorilla ones too, because her energy was another one that was just very like um high, and so she was just those two were like those three were my favorite sets from that Lotto,
Mhm.
Glorilla, and Jeezy.
Oh, okay, cool. Beautiful. Hold on, let me show them Glow before we go. Here go Glow. I love her. She's so fun. Beautiful. Megan, thank you so much for your time today. I super appreciate you. We know you're in the middle of editing, so thank you for just taking the time to be with us and drop some gems.
I appreciate y'all for having